All right, I got that plate at 0.5 mils wide. That's 600 meters. Come over here to my speed drop. I know I'm at the edge of that. So put 5 mils center of plate, full size IPSC. Man, that is fun. So with all these new MPVOs or medium power variable optics on the market, begs the question, what is the best short to mid-range optic? Is it an LPVO like this 1 to 10, or is it one of the new, say 2 to 10s from Element? Let's get into it here. Let me guess, you're looking to put together a mid-range rig capable of engaging targets out to say 600 to 800 yards. You're probably thinking, do you go with something like an LPVO, a 1 to 8 or a 1 to 10? Give yourself that 1x on the bottom side, but give yourself enough magnification on the top end to push out to distance. Or do you swap over and go with something like one of the new MPVOs, for example, this Element Theos 2 to 10 here? Certainly there's trade-offs with both, and I tell you what, I recently got this Element Theos 2 to 10, and it really opened my eyes to the value of an MPVO. So with that, I started asking myself, do I like LPVOs or MPVOs better? And I'm guessing many of you are probably wondering the same thing. So that prompted me to make this video and shoot them side by side and share my experience. If you're interested in learning what I see in a very nice LPVO versus a very nice MPVO, then stick around. This video is for you. Well, what's my plan for the video? Well, as you can see, I have a 1 to 10 here and a 2 to 10. I have them on my 16-inch 6.5 Creedmoor gas gun, and my plan is to run them through a handful of different tests. Get an idea of what I can do at the 100-yard line for groups, engage a couple of close-range infinity rubber targets at say 7 to 10 yards, and then transition out and engage steel maybe at about 300 meters, and then run through other steel targets using rapid engagement techniques. I recently went out to Hat Creek and learned a couple of really cool RET techniques, and I tell you what, they really make sense for a mid-range optic like this. You notice I'm not running a rangefinder on this. It's because I want to be able to flash mill my targets. For these RET techniques to work, typically you're going to be shooting 12 or 20-inch targets. You're going to get a mill reading on it, determine a distance, and with that you can either use something like a max point blank range or a speed drop number to get on that target. You may not have a perfect first round impact, but by golly, you'll be able to follow up quickly, and that's what I'm doing in this video. So I'm running these how I believe most people will, without a rangefinder, rapidly engaging those targets up close and out to distance. Now, as you can see, both of these optics are equipped with red dots on the left-hand side. Sure, LPVOs have 1x, but how often are you actually dialing over to 1x to shoot? I find it much quicker to engage with offset red dots, so both of these are equipped with that. Really quick, let me shout out a couple of companies who are helping make this content possible. First up will be Brownells, who provided this Eotech Vudu for me to use to create content like this. The next time you're shopping around on Brownells, make sure you use code MULLETS to save yourself 10% off of your next purchase of $150. It helps me out, it's going to help you out, and it signals to Brownells that you value my content. Next up will be Utah Air Guns, who provided the Element Theos 2 to 10 for me to use here in this video. If you want to learn more about Utah Air Guns, you can do so through the campsite bio below. And then finally, up front, you can see I'm running suppressed as always, and with that, I want to give a shout out to Silencer Shop. I've been a long-time customer of Silencer Shop, and I truly love what they've done with the NFA process. They've made it so simple to transfer your NFA item. They have their online profile. You can fill that out locally through their kiosk, and once you've built your profile, it's saved. Now you can remotely submit your NFA paperwork. They've streamlined the process, making it so simple. Also, wait times are down right now. The government has started processing NFA paperwork again, which is a huge win. But tax stamp goes away in January. It goes to $0. And with that, through Silencer Shop, you can either purchase now, pay the $200 tax stamp, and capitalize on the short wait times, which is what I'm doing. Or you can also purchase now and delay your NFA transfer until January when it's $0. The risk there, though, there's a lot of people doing that, and it's very possible wait times are going to skyrocket. So either pay to get your can now, or you can pay and wait until January through Silencer Shop. They're also fighting to extend our rights. So what are we going to run for gear in this video? Well, as you can see, we're on my 16-inch 6.5 Creedmoor. I feel like this is a great rifle to be able to engage targets up close quickly and then push out to those mid-range distances. Lower is going to be my Knights Armament SR25 lower. Got a Geisley SDE trigger in it. And the upper is going to be one of the newer LMT mrgg-s uppers. You can see this is something like a 15-inch M-LOK upper. It's got the D. Wilson ARCA rails on the bottom side so that I can run ARCA attachments. And it's got a 16-inch LMT factory 6.5 Creedmoor barrel in it, 1 in 8 twist. I do want to mention, I do love LMT products, but this barrel is excessively overgassed. In order to calm this thing down, I had to put a BRT reduced gas port size gas tube in it to cut the gas flow into the receiver down, as well as run the Stealth Additive Works Ekron 30 suppressor. So this is a sweet new suppressor on the market. Stealth Additive Works, they're an Idaho-based company, but as you can see, this thing is crazy flow through. Titanium can, it's very light, it has a wild design inside of this thing, but the biggest thing that I notice is how flow through it is. It pairs very well with the 6.5 Creedmoor, it's very lightweight, and it sounds quite nice. So if you're in the market for a flow through lightweight can, check out Stealth Additive Works. So that's gonna be the rifle that we run. The ammo that I run is gonna be 144 SMK hand loads. So shout out to Sierra for their support of my channel. That 144 SMK is shooting well in a number of my different gas guns. Load it to mag length, get the velocity where it needs to be, and it shoots. So for the LPVO, I have the Eotech Vudu 1-10. This is a very, very nice LPVO. I really enjoy shooting this. It has a very nice mill-based reticle in it. It has a nice center circle so that when you zoom out to 1 power, you get that kind of Eotech reticle for quick up-close shooting. And then you get exposed turrets here that you can dial in your distance. You can see this is mounted in a Night Force mount with a ball knobber offset mount for the Vortex red dot. So that's going to be the LPVO that we run. It's a true 1X and it goes all the way up to 10 power. For the MPVO, the medium power variable optic that we're going to run, this is a new Element Theos 2-10. I just recently launched a video kind of running through what this optic is. Very small footprint, 10 power on the top side, 2 power on the bottom side. Very clean mill reticle, makes it very quick and easy to mill those targets and then hold them. But also, this is more of a long-range scope that's kind of miniaturized for the MPVO role. So it has large target turrets. You can re-zero these turrets without tools. You unscrew the cap, set them back to 0, tighten them back down, no tools required. It has parallax on the left-hand side. Really, really nice for shooting out to distance. And I tell you what, it has amazing glass. So when you come to shoot out to distance with low power, the clearer the glass, the easier it is to do. You can see this is mounted in the zero gravity mount. This is a very nice mount for this application. It's thin here on the front side so that it fits on the tube. And it allows room on the back side for this LaRue RMR mount for my offset hollow sun. So those are gonna be the optics that we run. Now we're gonna engage targets at 100 yards. We're gonna move out, maybe do about 200 meters, 300-ish meters, 600 meters, and we're gonna finish off with a position there at about 820 meters. So with that, let's get into it. If you've been around my channel, you know I typically kick things off with 100-yard performance. Well, we're gonna mix things up a little bit in this video. My plan for the LPVO and the MPVO is to run rapid engagement techniques that I learned at Hat Creek recently. And my data for those rapid engagement techniques are built off of a 100-meter zero. So today we're gonna be shooting in meters and running a 100-meter zero. First thing I did was install the MPVO and got it roughly zeroed. I then came up and fired 5 rounds on the left-hand orange dot here on video. You can see these 5 rounds went into a group that measures 1.4 MOA. Now admittedly that is larger than I was hoping to see. In previous content you've seen me fire sub-MOA groups with that MPVO, but it is what it is. 1.4 MOA will get the job done. It's also worth noting the center dot in the MPVO is about half the width of the orange circle. So very, very clean aiming point. When you get your parallax dialed in, which I love, you're able to put that center dot inside the orange and get a clean aiming point. 1.4 MOA, and those 5 rounds went across the chronograph with an average speed of 24.67. I plugged that in to the AB quantum app for my long-range data when I extend beyond rapid engagement distances. Spread of 11.8 and an SD of 4.3, so very, very nice spread here. After firing the MPVO through its course of fire, I swapped over to the LPVO, got it roughly zeroed, came up here and fired 5 rounds aiming at the orange dot. Now unfortunately, when I went from here to here, instead of bumping down 0.2, I actually bumped up 0.2, and the 5 rounds landed here in a group that measures 0.62 MOA. So actually smaller than the MPVO. I was very surprised by that. From here, I adjusted down 0.4 and fired these 3 rounds right into the orange circle and called that zeroed up. Now the LPVO, the center dot on it is exactly the same size as the orange circle here. So basically I cover the orange circle with the center dot in the LPVO and get a clean aiming point. Allowed me to shoot very, very respectable groups. These 8 rounds, average speed of 24.73, extreme spread of 58, and an SD of 18.9. So a little bit large on the spread. Maybe I need to fine tune my hand loads, But as you're going to see in the data, this load is going to run very, very well out to distance. Seems like that 144 SMK once again performs beautifully in another gas gun. Now from here, we're going to move out. I'll start with the MPVO and run it through a course of fire. I'm not going to run a laser until the very far position, which is well beyond rapid engagement techniques. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about 100-yard performance out of the two optics. Personally, I was surprised by the performance of the LPVO. Performed very, very well. Here we go on steel. I've got the element 2 to 10 installed, and I've put up 3 plates. On the right is a 12-inch circle. Center is a 2/3 IPSC, which is 12 inches wide by 20 inches tall, and the left is a full-size IPSC, which is 18 by 30. Now I'm going to shoot some rapid engagement techniques where I'm going to use max point blank range as well as speed drop. I'm not going to run a rangefinder. I'm going to flash mill. So to do that, I need to go ahead and dial on 0.5 for this rifle. I'm going to look out here at my 12-inch circle, and I'm going to see, oh yeah, it ranges well over a mil, so it's quite close. So for that, I'm going to use my close max point blank, 0.5, kind of bottom third of plate. There we go, no problem. Same drill with the LPVO. Now when I shot it with the element, I was on 4 power, so I've set the LPVO to 4 power. That way we're apples to apples. So let's look out there at our 12-inch circle and get a mil reading on it. We are well over 1 mil. So my close max point blank will work. I've already dialed up my 0.5 for rapid engagement. Now, the interesting thing, I should be holding 0.5 kind of bottom of the plate. This reticle doesn't have a 0.5 increment. I have a center dot and then a circle, which is roughly 1 mil. So I'm just going to hold something like that, kind of centered up. Well, there we are. I'd estimate we're probably about 200 yards here. Thought it'd be kind of fun to do a near to far type engagement, so I've set up 2 of my infinity rubber targets here at about 7 to 10 yards. We'll put 2 rounds in each of those using the red dot, and then I'll transition out to the steel. I'll probably start on the 2/3 IPSC, that 20-inch height, using max point blank range. So let's get on it. Transition down, the mag up. Let's go all the way to 10 power. Let's range that target. So across the width, 12 inches. I'm going to call that 1 mil, which is going to be about 300 meters. So I should be able to go 0.5 to center. I'm going to favor just a bit high. You can see it there a little bit low. Okay, right there in it. The thing I could do is transition over to speed drop here. So call it 310 minus 2 is 1.1. There we go. So that was at 10 power. You can see I can see those targets really well. Let's keep pushing. Here we go. LPVO, 2 close targets, 2 far targets. Now the plan here, I want to shoot this on 1x with the LPVO, but the ocular on this rotates. So I'm going to shoot the 2 close targets, and then I have to pause, reposition my camera so that I can mag up to 10x and give you a view. It'll be seamless for you, but I do have to stop and reposition the camera. So let's get on it. All right, transitioned you up to 10x. Now let's engage the far targets. So we'll look out there at the 2/3 IPSC. It's 12 inches wide. And I measure that right at 1 mil, which would be 300 meters, or 0.9, which is 340. We'll call it 320. Now with that, on a 20-inch target, my far max point blank is actually 1 mil. So I'll just hold that kind of center of target. Let's engage the circle. No problems there. Let's keep going. We'll keep pushing. Here we are off of the rocks, kind of a modified prone, bipod up front, rear bag in the rear. Let's get on our target here, make sure I'm on 10 power. And I'll measure the width. The 12-inch width there measures 0.5. So 0.5 would put me right at 600 meters. Let's measure the height at 20 inches. I'm going to call that about 0.8, 0.9, which would be a little over 600 meters. So too far from max point blank range. I'll transition to speed drop. So for 600 meters, subtract 2 out of that, I'll hold 4 mils. And let's just start on the full size IPSC. I need a pretty generous target. We're toward the edge of my speed drop. So let's do 4 mils upper chest, straight up. Seems calm. Okay, dropped a bit low. Let's bring 4.5 high chest. Impact on the right edge. Pack center, let's go 2/3. Pack. 12-inch. Let's go back to the 2/3, getting them mirage off the can. Impact. I know this is 660 yards. I'm guessing meters is probably like 580 or so. And this definitely is the edge of my speed drop. Here we are off the rocks with the LPVO. We'll do the exact same exercise. I'll get on that 2/3 IPSC there in the center. We'll measure the width. Remember, it's 12 inches wide. And I measure it right at 0.5, which would be 600 meters. Maybe just a smidge over. Now let's go measure the height. I'm going to call it like 0.8 or 0.9. So that should put it right at about 600 meters. So beyond max point blank range, but with speed drop, let's go over here to the full size IPSC. 600 meters minus 2 would be 4. I'm at the edge of speed drop, so let's put 4 high in the chest. And I'm going to favor right edge of plate. We got some wind. Pack. Low right corner, I think. So let's cheat up and center up here. 4.5 to center. Pack. All right, let's try the 2/3. Pack. 12-inch. 12-inch is a little tricky with this reticle. Couldn't connect with a 12-inch, but for the application, the full-size IPSC, the 2/3 IPSC, no problem there. Let's keep going. This next shot, I found a really cool new natural position. I just ranged it with my Vectronics. 822 meters, calls for 8.9 mils of elevation. I'm gonna go ahead and dial that on. And at this point, we'll engage the full-size IPSC out there on the left. So I'm gonna pull over my tripod rear support here and get on this target. As low as we can here. Tripod pulled in. Okay. Nice steady position. Got my foot up behind me here. I'm on 10 power. Windage. Let's just go, man, straight up and see what happens. Impact. Left edge. Back. Off that left edge, come right 0.4. The right edge. Packed. That's pretty cool. We'll call that good. 820 meters. Hasty field position, 10x on the 2 to 10. Here we go with the LPVO, kind of off of this rocky field position. So I'll go ahead and dial up the 8.9 mils that we ran earlier. Seemed to work just fine. So there we go. Now I should be holding my center dot on the plate. Make sure we're up on 10 power. And wind feels very calm. I'm going to favor right edge. Same hold. Looked like that went high. Reticle's kind of fat. Pat, a better position here. Cheat off the right edge. Pat. 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 Let's try the 2/3. Okay, I need a little more right wind. Nothing to hold there in the reticle, so we'll just wing it. Impact, but just nothing to hold there. Yeah, off that left edge. So we made our impacts out there with the LPVO. Probably not as confident there as the MPVO, but with that, let's wrap up. Well, there it is, a side-by-side look at an LPVO and an MPVO. Engaging targets from as close as, say, 7 yards all the way out to 822 meters off of a supported position there on the rocks. You gotta let me know in the comments down below, what did you think about the performance of this rig and the two different optics? Which route are you going? I tell you what, I have a pretty strong opinion on this one, and I can't wait to chat through it. So first up was the 100-yard performance. And I tell you what, I was pretty shocked at 100 yards, actually. The MPVO has a very fine center aiming dot, about half the size of the orange dot. I was expecting a pretty tight group, but the rounds there were 1.4 MOA. Very usable on a rifle like this, but I was hoping to see something a little bit smaller, just luck of the draw. At 100 yards, the LPVO with the larger center dot laid down the tightest group, like 0.6 MOA for 5 rounds. Pretty cool because the center dot in the Vudu is perfectly the size of the orange dot that I was shooting at. Maybe that was it, I don't know, but the LPVO took the advantage at the 100-yard line. You think about engaging those targets up close, those infinity rubber targets. Well, on those with the MPVO, obviously I canted the rifle left and used my left eye to use the hollow sun to engage them. Very fast. And then once I got down to engage the steel further out, I was able to magnify up and engage those targets. Again, it's a very quick solution. With the LPVO, I also used my left eye with the red dot here on the ball dumber mount. Sure, the LPVO can mag down to 1x, and then you can go back up to 10. But those of you that are running LPVOs, how often are you actually doing that? In my opinion, it's way faster and simpler to run a red dot on an LPVO. So in that situation, my opinion, with a red dot attached, which is a must, it's a draw between the two optics. They both were very effective. Push out to distance, we start engaging steel there. My first position, I flash milled that 12-inch plate. It was bigger than my go range for max point blank, so I held that center of plate and engaged that. Both optics, no problems milling or making impacts there. Pushed on out, after engaged the 7-yard rubber targets, we hit some steel there at about 300 meters or 320 meters. Again, flash milled it, held my max point blank range, made those impacts. 12-inch by 20-inch 2/3 IPSC or a 12-inch circle, it didn't matter. They both worked very well. We pushed on out though to about 600 meters off the rocks, and in my opinion, that's where I started to see a difference. The MPVO glass to me is way clearer, especially when you use the parallax here to kind of focus that and get the parallax set right. So as far as shooting experience, the glass advantage really showed up at that point to me. The ability to mill those targets and hold on those targets with a clean reticle in this Element Theos had the advantage. Now the LPVO, as you saw, it worked, no problem. It just wasn't as clear. The other thing I'm starting to notice between these two optics as I get rounds on them is the eye box. So how easy is it for me to get my head behind the optic? Not forward and back, but side to side, up and down, maybe in some weird positions. The eye box in the LPVO is tight. It's definitely tighter than the Element Theos MPVO. So I would say advantage goes to MPVO for comfort of shooting and glass clarity. Finally, I pushed on out and we engaged the full-size IPSC there from kind of a hasty field position off the rocks with the rear tripod rest. We made those impacts with both optics actually. That was really awesome. That's about the max distance I think you would employ a rifle like this. And that full-size IPSC was no problem. Again, the MPVO made it a little bit easier with that super clean reticle that it has in it for the holds. LPVO got the job done, but here I really noticed a tight eye box. The reticle was very coarse. There weren't really any half-mil holds, so it made it hard to correct out there. And then I tell you what, the parallax situation is just such an advantage on the MPVO. So when I think about where these two optics make sense, for me, the LPVO has a place for the lighter weight rifle, maybe that's close range, maybe 400, 500, 600 meters or yards at most. That's where I see the LPVO making sense, kind of bridging the gap between maybe a red dot and a magnifier and something like an MPVO. If you're more focused on a precision-oriented rifle, or maybe you want to push a little bit further out, you want the ability to make more accurate shots, that's where the advantage, in my opinion, goes to the MPVO. Reason being, the more forgiving eye box, you're able to get behind the rifle easier in weird situations. The clearer glass, the parallax on the side, and the cleaner reticle, to me, were all advantages that I noticed in the MPVO. So for me, when I think about a mid-range rifle, I tell you what, my opinion has really changed. I used to be very pro LPVO for that until I tried my first MPVO. And now I really see the value of an MPVO. And finally, as you saw in the video, those rapid engagement techniques really shine in this situation where you're shooting those practical targets quickly with these style optics and rifles. Flash millet, you can get rounds downrange very fast. Even though speed drop, say at 600 meters, I missed with the first round, I was able to rapidly correct and get on the plate. So I tell you what, if I had to choose one to go on top of this 6.5 Creedmoor right now, I actually would choose the MPVO, something like a 2-10, 2-12, 2-14 with an offset red dot. To me, it's just a little bit better fit for what this rifle is. Maybe an LPVO I might put on maybe like a 14.5, 5.56, where it's a lighter weight gun. You're gonna be shooting closer distances than you would maybe with a rig like this. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. Do you agree with my opinion here? Or is there something you feel maybe I overlooked? I'd love to hear from you. With that, if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching. Help me grow this channel. Liking, commenting, and subscribing. Subscribing is the most impactful way. It empowers me to pump out new content, lets the industry know you value what I'm doing. So thanks for watching. Hope to join you in my next video.